Hello and welcome back to another Bible reading and discussion.
We just keep going through these Gospels and looking at Jesus.
I'm
What better
loving it.
way to spend some time?
I'm loving it, and I know a lot of people, you are, hear a lot of good comments. So once again, we didn't say this in the last video, but always remember to heart, care, do the hug, all the stuff, but share it. You know, one of the things, really what this is for is first and foremost for the church here in Lenore City, but also for those in Lenore City to use this as a, hey,
Spend a little time with Jesus, see what he's up to. Most people don't know Jesus, the real Jesus.
Yeah.
One thing I like about the Chosen program that's been on is help people to get into that and realize who he is. Well, this is a good way to do that, by just directly dial into the Gospels. And I know in my case, back in 1968, when I found out who Jesus was, I was good to go. I had no idea he was like he was.
yeah, he's different than, you know, just read him.
Yeah.
Read what he says about himself.
Give him a shot.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing. So we're in Luke chapter 12, and I'll start reading. In the meantime, so once again, he's talking to the Pharisees, he's been talking to the lawyers. In the meantime, when so many thousands of people had gathered together, they were trampling one another, he began to say to his disciples first, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. So he just woed the Pharisees. Beware of the leaven. And one of his major deals with the Pharisees has been their inside and their outside don't match. Their outside looks a whole lot better than their inside.
And they have a transforming bad force on people who come under their spell, if you will.
But isn't that's kind of contagious, the fact of what do we look like? What do we appear like? What can people see? You know, first impressions.
Yes.
And first impressions, I think, matter.
They do.
But lasting impressions matter more.
more.
You'll find out real quick that first time you talk with someone, they're like, oh, they were so friendly. Hang out with them for a while.
It doesn't take long.
Doesn't take long. Figure out the true them.
Yep.
So, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy.
He just names it here. There's a
Yeah.
place in Matthew where he kind of throws it out there and they don't know what he's talking about. But here, I guess he's tired of trying to get them to figure stuff out. So.
And hypocrisy is play acting.
Yeah.
They're playing religion. They are not religious.
And they probably would say, well, no, we're not. Because
No.
it gets a hold of a person.
Yeah. But that's the interesting thing enough. That's how they've been taught to do religion.
Yeah. No.
They've been taught.
They
This has
come
been
out
passed
honestly.
down. Yeah. Nothing is covered up that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. That gets back to the innard. You know, you can put on all this and brush it up and make it look nice, but it's going to be revealed one day.
As I've been known to say, you can't fake real.
No. So therefore, whatever you have said in the dark shall be heard in the light. And what you have whispered in private rooms shall be proclaimed on the housetops. I tell you, my friends, do not fear those who kill the body, and after that have nothing more that they can do. I mean, once the body's dead, what more can they do?
Kick you around a bit, but
Yeah.
who cares?
But I will warn you whom to fear. Fear him who, after he has killed, has authority to cast you into hell. Yes, I tell you, fear him. There is a side of God and Jesus people don't like to talk about today.
As he is, and they both are, of justice.
Yeah.
In fact, it's one of the primary things, weightier matters of the law, Matthew tells us, justice.
And justice means sin, the penalty for sin is death, and it must be paid. The good news is Jesus has come to pay that penalty, but you must be in him to receive that, that gift.
When Bob Dylan went through his Christian era and wrote songs and won some Emmys and all that, one of the songs he wrote has a line that says, he looked into justice's beautiful face. He'd never seen it as a beautiful thing, but it really is.
It is. It can be. Especially when you're dealing with God. Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 pennies, and not one of them is forgotten before God? Why, even the hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear not, you are of more value than many sparrows. So even when it comes to justice, would God rather lean on the side of loving you, being gracious to you, and merciful to you? Or is he looking to throw you under the bus?
No, that's it. And that's the thing that a lot of people need to understand, that negative expressions of justice are not because there isn't love, and not because there aren't tears, and not because there isn't a great desire to do whatever one can do to make it turn out otherwise.
Well, what does Peter say? God desires that all men would come to repentance and knowledge of God. I mean, that's his desire.
It's something like children, I think. We all want our children to turn out really, really, really well. We do anything that we reasonably could to do that, but sometimes it doesn't work that way.
Yep. So, and I tell you, everyone who acknowledges me before men, the Son of Man will also acknowledge before the angels of God. I like how he puts that, before the angels of God, because once again, and we've been in Revelation in our Sunday morning series.
That's what happened.
When you have the throne of God, you're also going to have whom?
All
His
those
angelic
heavenly
hosts.
beings and angels and whatnots.
Yep. And everyone who speaks a word against the Son of Man will be forgiven, but the one who blasphemes against the Holy Spirit will not be forgiven. And once again, this is along the lineage. This goes all the way back, and Matthew puts this a little cleaner for us. Mm-hmm. The fact that those who are saying that what Jesus is doing, his works that he's doing, are by Beelzebub. Mm-hmm. We're still, in this flowing of argument with Luke, but anybody who blasphemes against the Spirit.
Mm-hmm. You can't get beyond that. Yeah. That's the source of what's going on. You can look at Jesus and, well, he's not really the source. But you get to the Spirit, it doesn't go any further back than that. That's God.
Yeah, and Jesus, once again, I think we both believe, relied upon the Spirit for his miracles and for his work.
He divested himself, if you will.
Yeah. Not that he couldn't at any time call 10,000 angels.
He chose not to.
He chose not to. That's a part of the sovereignty of God, is that he can choose to or not to things.
Well, if you can't, it's no big deal if you don't. But if you can and you don't because you shouldn't, then that's something else.
That is huge. And when they bring you before the synagogues and the rulers of the authorities, do not be anxious about how you should defend yourself or what you should say, for the Holy Spirit will teach you in that very hour what you ought to say. Once again, that is a very specific thing for the apostles. That they were going to be given the Spirit, they were going to be given the words.
We have that to internalize, transform us, to allow us to do what they were able to do.
Well, and I've made that statement before. People. So Sunday morning, I preached Revelation 5. People were like, "Wow, that was a powerful sermon." I just kept responding, "No, it's a powerful chapter." Like it's really easy to have a powerful sermon when you have powerful message.
Powerful material. I mean, it's like
I don't have to draw from all these other places.
Yeah, no, it's just there, man.
It's there. It's pretty easy sometimes. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." And he said to him, "Man, who made me a judge or arbiter over you?" So, now once again, Jesus is an arbiter. But what does he care to be an arbiter
about?
Not
the materialistic world, no.
Between man and God.
And that's what this guy's heard, known about things Jesus has done. And what's he worried about? His inheritance.
Yeah, and to give them a little defense, if you're going to choose someone to arbiter between you, don't you want a fair person, a person who's going to deal with it honestly and fairly, all right? But Jesus says,
I don't think so.
And he said to them, "Take care and be on your guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." He puts the onus on them.
Yeah, don't be greedy.
You ought not need an arbiter, because if you are truly brothers and you have an inheritance, you should be able to work this out.
If you put greed over here, covetousness over here, just settle it.
They'll settle it.
Men of integrity.
It's kind of like what Paul says to the church of Corinth when they were suing each other and bringing each other to,
come on.
He's like, and first
Isn't
of all,
there's somebody there?
You're dishonoring yourself before
the world's looking at you. And Facebook.
Oh.
Sometimes what I see on Facebook is, and non-believers are looking at this and thinking that's what Christianity is. It's like, man, stop it.
I saw a post the other day, and all I did was just for any non-believers out there, just know that not all Christians are like this. Yeah. I just kind of left it at that.
Yeah.
I got some heat for that, but I didn't want people to think that all Christians behave and accept that kind of behavior. All right. And he told them a parable saying, "The land of a rich man produced plentifully. And he thought to himself, what shall I do? For I now have nowhere to store my crops. And he said, I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones. And there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry. But God said to him, Fool, this night your soul is required of you. And the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So is the one who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. So how is this going to help these two brothers who need an arbiter? He's basically saying, if your concern is following and seeking God,
it's short-lived.
You know, all this.
If it's the material stuff, if it's God, forever.
Yeah.
If it's your stuff.
And it's not that one person saying, well, you can have it all. It's that if you're both not looking to be greedy, you're going to be honest and fair with each other.
There's some fair solution to their problem. There's some fair solution.
Yeah.
One of them's older than the other one. That's going to dictate some of it.
He's going to have a double portion, most likely. All right, so I'm going to read to 34, I think.
And there's nothing wrong with building barns.
No.
There's nothing wrong with being wealthy. It's if that, like the rich young ruler, is what possesses you. Paul in Romans talks about rich people, and doesn't tell them to get rid of everything. He says use it wisely and use it for the glory of God. Many times things that we need to do that require money, it's good to have some rich people who've got money.
Yeah. Well, the fact of the matter is he spent all of his time and all of his energy building these barns, and then finally got the point, now I can enjoy.
Yeah.
You should have been enjoying it all along.
Yeah, why not enjoy it along the way?
Serving God, serving others, you're preparing for the worst possible scenario.
As if you can control that.
God's got that control.
Yes.
Why worry, right? Be anxious for nothing.
Don't worry, be happy.
Yeah. And here's what he's going to say. Verse 22, and he said to his disciples, therefore I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will put on. Now, anxious and concern
yes, sir.
are two different things. He's not saying that just go through life willy-nilly, don't plan
That's not
whatsoever.
good for your family, not good for you.
The one who can't provide for their family is worse than an unbeliever, the Bible also says. If you don't work, you don't eat, right? So you've got to but don't be anxious about it. Are there going to be hard times?
Yes.
Yes, but are you going to be provided for? If you are working hard and doing what is right, you will be.
Do your part.
Yeah, do your part.
Let God do his.
For life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Consider the ravens. They neither sow nor reap. They have neither storehouse nor barn, and yet God feeds them. How much more valuable are you than the birds? And which of you, being anxious, can add a single hour to the span of his life? So once again, even if you are going through a hard time, what is anxiety going to do for you?
It's probably going to shorten your life, actually.
I think some of my gray coming in my beard this early is from my anxiety, or the losing of my hair. If then you are not able to do as a small thing as that, why are you anxious about the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass, which is alive in the field today and tomorrow is thrown in the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O you of little faith? Do not seek what you are to eat and what you are to drink, nor be worried. For all the nations of the world seek after these things, and your Father knows that you need them. Instead, seek his kingdom. And once again, a part of being his kingdom is doing, when you're working for someone, doing it as if you're doing it for Christ, working hard for your family, laboring, right? If you don't work, you don't eat, Paul says. So there's a lot. Seeking first. Yes. A lot of times we think
seeking first. Matthew puts that in there, but this in the context is surely what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Seeking first.
Seek first the kingdom. That may look different for different people. Like a mother of children. Her seeking first is God wants her to raise her children.
Exactly.
That's seeking God. A husband providing for their family. That's part of seeking the kingdom.
Yeah.
For you to be content in the kingdom, you've got to provide for your family.
No.
God expects you to.
I know a preacher, he's dead now, you know him, I won't mention his name, who regretted his life when he was a dad with kids in the home, and how that worked out, how that turned out. And he would have given anything if he could have given back and gone back.
Because unfortunately, sometimes the interpretation or how this translates in our life is, I need to seek God at the expense of my family.
Yes.
No. They go together.
No.
They go together. You never want to do that. Okay. Do not see. Okay, I read that. Instead, 32. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions, give to the needy, provide yourselves with money bags that do not grow old, with a treasure in heaven that does not fail, whither no thief approaches and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So basically what he's saying, have enough, sell your possessions, don't be so concerned about things. Trust me, most people have more than they need.
This is in our culture, for sure.
Yeah.
Luke, though he is a Gentile, is steeped in Jewish thought and scriptures.
Yep.
Matthew will talk about loving less. Luke will just talk about hating, because that's a classic Semitic hyperbole. And this is classic Semitic hyperbole. If you took it literally, you just literally get rid of everything right now on the spot and give it to poor people. That's there's a point that this is emphasizing with exaggeration.
Yeah, exaggeration's used all the time. Go sell everything. Well, what he's saying is, do you trust God enough to do that? Do you trust God enough to not put so much care in? If your thing is, but I love my stuff, that's what he's getting
If you
at.
can sell it, you don't have to. If you can't, you should.
Yes. All right, your turn.
Be in readiness, we are told us at the beginning of this chapter part. Be dressed in readiness and keep your lamps lit. Be like men who are waiting for their master when he returns from the wedding feast. Matthew develops this differently, but here it is. So that they may immediately open the door to him when he comes and knocks. So here are people who are supposed to wait for something to happen. And he says, be ready. So when it happens, you'll be ready. Blessed are those slaves whom the master will find on the alert when he comes. Truly I say to you that he will gird himself to serve and have them recline at the table and come and wait on them, whether he comes in the second watch or even the third, and he finds them. So blessed are these slaves. So what are we supposed to be ready for?
Well, here's tying into the previous section. If your only concern is gathering possessions, are you ever going to be ready for those opportunities to serve the Lord? Like the man building barns. He spent all this time. He probably, how many opportunities did he miss to serve?
Oh, man.
And yet, it's not that you're sitting around going, well, I can't work, waiting like this. It's always being ready for the opportunities.
They'll come. Like the Good Samaritan, he didn't leave thinking, oh, it's going to be a guy by the side of the road I can help. No, but there he was, and he helped him.
I'm going to steal your phrase. Ready? As you are going. As you are going.
I stole it.
Yeah. I'll steal it from you who stole it from Jesus.
Yeah.
Right? But it's life. And when you're going through life, even if you're working, guess what God's going to put in front of you? Opportunities
and
to
you don't
serve
know what
and
they're
talk.
going to be.
You don't know.
Sometimes they're wildly crazy things.
But you got to be looking for them.
That's it.
And if you're not ready and looking, they're going to pass you by and you probably didn't even know they were there.
Yeah, if somebody would say, what about that? Oh, I see that. When you have a ready spirit, you see things you wouldn't otherwise see.
Yeah, with that eye.
But be sure of this, that if the head of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have allowed his house to be broken into. You too, be ready. The Son of Man is coming at an hour when you do not expect it. Now, Luke's made an obvious mistake here, because we're going to know when Jesus comes back.
The
Right?
signs of the times?
Yeah. No, wait a minute. You know what he means this? We're supposed to be ready so that whenever it happens, we'll be ready. And that makes good sense.
Well, sometimes we're so concerned about preparing for the coming of the Lord that doesn't look like what Jesus means when he says prepare. The way you prepare for the Lord coming is act as if you don't know.
Exactly.
Because you don't know. Keep loving and serving people, and
Take
one
care
day
of
Jesus will
business as a
come,
servant,
and
yeah.
you'll see him as a friend. You'll be
Here he
ready.
is, okay.
Peter
said, Lord, are you addressing this parable to us?
This is like the lawyer.
I know.
You're offending us in this one.
Or to everyone else as well. And the Lord said, who then is the faithful and sensible steward whom his master shall put in charge of his servants to give them their rations at the proper time? Blessed is that slave whom the master finds so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will put him in charge of all his possessions. But if that slave says in his heart, my master will be a long time in coming, begins to beat the slaves, both men and women, and to eat, and to drink, and to get drunk, the master of that slave will come on a day when he does not expect him, an hour when he does not know, will cut him in pieces, assign him a place with the unbelievers. And that slave who knew his master's will and did not get ready or act on accord with it will receive many lashes. But the one who did not know it and committed a deed worthy of a flogging will receive but few. From everyone who has been given much will be required, and to whom they entrusted much of him they will ask all the more.
Jesus, can you just give us a straight answer?
Yeah. What you mean?
Well, and basically, I love when Jesus puts the onus on others.
Yes.
They ask, are you speaking to all of us? Well, let me tell you a parable about different kinds of servants.
Yeah.
Which one are you?
Yeah. Who are you? And basically, you're either ready or you're not.
Yeah. So you have to determine, Peter, which one are you? Is Jesus speaking to you? Because at this point in Peter's life,
maybe not.
He's a little shaky with his face sometimes.
Yes. This idea about judgment, knowing and not knowing. There's some intriguing things thrown in there that I, for the life of me, could not fully explain. I don't have to fully explain them, thankfully, but I don't want to tell God everything He's going to do on judgment, because there's some things about it that only He would know. My job, Rex Turner Sr. used to say, we're like covenant lawyers. Our job is to take the law book, the Bible, and preach it like it is.
Yeah.
It's God's determination to come in and deal with it after that.
Are there verses that lead you to believe that, you get it? Are there levels of punishment? Levels of, could be. I can't say there isn't, because there are places where it says it'll be better for those. Yeah. It'll be worse for those.
No, but that's way above my pay grade.
Yeah, I don't think it's as literal as we take it, but I don't think it's also overly figurative to where it has no meaning or value.
No. It's, at the end of the day, do what we're supposed to as servants, and we'll be all right.
God will take care of the rest. He's the good one.
He is. He knows stuff. I have come to cast fire upon the earth, and how I wish it were already kindled. But I have a baptism to undergo, and how distressed I am until it is accomplished. Do you suppose that I came to grant peace on earth? I tell you, no, but rather division. For from now on, 5 members in one household will be divided, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. They will be divided, father against son, and son against father, mother against daughter, and daughter against her mother, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law, and daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Whoa, that part of it doesn't get talked about a lot.
No, well, and one of the things Jesus has said, the sign of my coming will be like Jonah. His resurrection, and after his resurrection, when we start talking about all of these Jews who start receiving Jesus, what's that going to do to some families?
Well, if you don't receive him and your child does, or vice versa, I mean, that's going to be a gigantic, huge thing within your culture.
Yeah.
And family can't stay the same if you've got those kind of divisions.
Well, Paul even deals with in 1 Corinthians 7, about people who become believers, but their wife doesn't, and they want to leave. There's going to be times.
Don't need any of this and sign on for this.
Yeah, and so it's going to cause divisions. But are you ready? Are you seeking the reward that God has, or the reward of men, right? Are you truly in it?
It's not an I'll serve if, it's an I'll serve.
Yeah.
And he was also saying to the crowds, when you see a cloud rising in the west, immediately you say a shower is coming, and so it turns out. And when you see a south wind blowing, you say it will be a hot day, and it turns out that way. You hypocrites, you know how to analyze the appearance of the earth and sky, but why do you not analyze the present time? And why do you not, even on your own initiative, judge what is right? For while you are going with your opponent to appear before the magistrate, and on your way there make an effort to settle with him, so that they may not drag you before the judge, and the judge hand you over to the officer, and the officer throw you into prison, I say to you, you will not get out of there until you have paid the last cent.
So here's an interesting thing. They basically were good at telling the weather.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you could see, hey, this kind of weather pattern's coming through. This is normally what follows.
Red sky at night, sailors delight.
Yeah.
Red sky at the morning, sailors take warning.
There's a cause and effect. How many cause and effects have God given them and their prophets?
And their spiritual
if you
life.
do this, God will do this. If you don't do this, God will not do this.
And the whole history of illustration. This is what I'm talking about. It works that way.
Yeah, and everything in life, and that's one of the cool things about creation. God has ordered creation in such a way when we look out, we can see his handiwork. We can see how he's dealt with creation is in a way a reflection of how he'll even deal with us. There's cause and effect in creation.
The sun's coming up tomorrow unless Jesus comes back.
There's order to things. There are things that naturally happen, always flow the right way. And Jesus is saying,
Ecclesiastes talks about that.
if you fear God and honor me and serve me, look at the life you'll have. Will there be hard times? Yes. But will there be a blessing eternally when the Son of Man... I mean, it's so easy. And in one sense, it's so simple what Jesus is saying.
And it'll work every time.
Yeah. There's never a time where it won't work. It may not work the way you think it works. But God says this works. It's like church growth. You bring this up all the time. Well, if we follow Jesus' plan, we try to make up new plans because Jesus wasn't in this age during this. No, it works.
It's the whole plan of becoming Christ-like and going out and acting like Jesus. That's the plan. Well, that requires a bit of an investment. Let's get the short version. Let's get a shortcut. Let's pressure people into it.
Yeah, maybe if we focus on attendance rather than full.
Get them in the pew. Yeah.
And be okay with that. Well, and I really don't like when people. Did Jesus?
Go ahead, say it.
There are people who leave, okay, and they walk away. And they're lukewarm, or they're whatever it may be, something happens. Did Jesus chase people? Why? Because if people want to be a part of it, they know what it takes, they know what they need to do.
There isn't a plan B for them to hook up with.
And I don't chase people. And people get mad at me sometimes when not that I won't say, hey, what's wrong, what's going
try to
on.
figure it out a little bit, yeah.
But I'm going to go as far as Jesus went.
If you don't want Jesus, I can't give you anything else. That's all I got.
And I'm not going to shortchange, let's not say that because we want more people to come.
Well, would Jesus have said it? That's the only thing we need to ask.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, once again, if you're going to be a true disciple of Jesus, there's going to be some hard times. There's going to be some trials you got to go through, but it's worth it in the end.
Exactly.
So, we love you. God bless.